I approached Harrison Ford in the crowd. I don't know what I asked him, but I do remember that I asked him 3 questions, and he answered me with 3 one-word answers.
But I'm glad those one-word answers were not "kiss my."
Hey, I'm Kathy Rankin. I have a new single out called Now You've Gone, and you are on All Over the Place, where the fun sanity never ends.
Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place. Season 4 begins today. Thank you, everyone, for the first 3 seasons, all of our guests, all of the continued subscribers and additions and liking, subscribing, all of that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. And Jim, I'm going to pass the torch over to you for anything you'd like to say as we kick off season number 4.
Just thanks everybody who's been there from the beginning. Thanks everyone we picked up since then. Thanks to everybody who liked, commented, subscribed, all the things. Anybody who engaged. Anybody out there that feels like engaging more, you want to tell us we're full of it, absolutely. Jump in the comments and do it. We'll welcome any and all engagement, and we appreciate all that we've had so far. So thanks.
And Jim, I believe in my best Jake Blues, it's constructive. I'm sorry, it would have been Elwood Blues. Constructive criticism. Criticism.
That's what I tell myself. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. We will rationalize that away here.
Yes.
So yes, but unfortunately, Marty won't be joining us tonight, but he'll be back for future episodes. And I just want to thank Nick Bohr and the whole gang over at Vinyl Record Dude for coming on board. Sponsors. We're very excited to be partnering with them as the season progresses. Nick's going to be on, going to be talking to us from his new store. And very quickly, they were right behind me the last time we recorded. Jim, here's what I picked up at Vinyl Record Dude, the new location. We got some Alarm, got some Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, little Don Henley, Building the Perfect Beast, and Pat Benatar. These are perfect things on vinyl from Vinyl Record Dude. And also on a music note, I want to thank Danny Zalesko Presents DZP Live. Danny Zalesko, thank you so much for letting us, share, subscribe with you guys, and tag you on social media. And we're going to get right into it, folks. We've got an excellent Threefer plan for tonight. And with the Threefer, we brought back a guy who has joined us once a season, and this goes all the way back to the Radio Free Fredonia days. You can catch him literally all over the place on his podcast, on his website, and YouTube, everywhere. I want to welcome back to the show Christian Toto. Thanks for joining us on All Over the Place yet again.
My pleasure. Yes, I am literally all over the place. I guess.
You are.
No rest for the wicked.
And I want to, before we get going on the fabulous Threefer and celebrating a guy who celebrated a birthday recently, what's going on with you over there at the Hollywood and Toto podcast? Because you are popping up on the coolest of places these days.
Yeah, I'm just keeping busy. I transferred from audio to video a few months back, so I'm still kind of working with that transition and getting some interesting guests along the way. I actually got a whole stockpile of interviews I got to start rolling out at some point. So yeah, it's engaging, it's different. And the one thing that's new-ish is that I'm doing this short on Hollywood series, which is basically, remember David Spade's, I don't know if it's the Hollywood Minute, what the name of it was, but sort of this snarky reading of the local headlines or the entertainment headlines. So I've been doing that. I've actually engaged my teenage son to produce them. So they're kind of silly, they're kind of goofy, a little political, but hopefully funny. And I think they am. Hopefully the hits outweigh the misses, but swinging for the fences and seeing how it goes. I'm
loving those. Those are coming up once, sometimes twice a week, right?
Yeah, I want to get on a 2 for a week. It's the one. My burden right now is that I'm pulled in so many different directions. I want to get more than one video podcast up a week, more than one short on Hollywood, but not quite there yet. But I'm working toward that. So I just got to get leaner and meaner.
Well, and they're not political, like as was mentioned earlier via our good buddy Elwood Blues, constructive criticisms of Hollywood. Constructive criticism.
It's a little political at times, but nothing so mean-spirited. No. I don't think it'll chase our liberal friends away. At least I hope not.
Hollywood, sorry, you had it coming, right or left. So.
It kind of feels like a late night show without all the bitterness behind it, which makes it a lot funnier.
Yeah. With a wink and a nod.
Exactly. And since the last time you've added some movie posters back there. I believe it was just Raising Arizona the last time. So tell us about the additions back there, just as we grow.
Yeah, my magnificent studio here. I'm just trying to make it a little more fun, and it's funny, you want posters that either mean something to you or are so iconic. So for me, Better Off Dead means something to me. And then I don't know if you can see it, but I've got Step Brothers. Maybe I can twist this a little bit to kind of
There they are.
Anyway, but yeah, that step right. It's so funny. You just showed those album covers, and I thought, man, I miss album covers. I mean, the artwork, staring at them for such an extended period of time, absorbing every little molecule of the pictures. I miss it. And at the same time, the fact that vinyl has made this comeback, I think that's one of the reasons why you can have it, you can hold it in your hands, you can see it, you can feel it. It just feels more substantial than a digital download.
Preach it, brother Toto. Preach it. Absolutely. Yes. I can't live without vinyl, and I'm so glad that it's making the comeback. And I'm glad that Vinyl Record Dude is there for us. There you go. There is a very gratuitous plug there for Nick and the gang over at Vinyl Record Dude. And so as we get to our threefer, as I mentioned, it's the birth month, July 13th, Harrison Ford, and I foolishly forgot to get the research in how old he is. Let's see. I believe he was born in
83 years young.
So he was born in 42, so he's 83 this week.
Yep, that's right.
Same as Macca, Paul McCartney, I believe.
Wow. Yep. None of us are getting younger, folks. Deal with it. But what we're going to do today, folks, on our threefer number 55, is we're going to discuss our favorite Harrison Ford roles that are not Han Solo in Indiana Jones. He's probably his two most iconic roles. But we're going to go everything but that. So our top three, and Christian, you are our guest. So let me give you the spotlight here, and starting at number 3 and working your way towards your top spot.
Yeah, Mosquito Coast from, I believe, 1986 is such an unconventional movie. And the fact that he took on that role at that time when he was just about the biggest movie star on the planet, he could do no wrong, had the two franchises under his feet. And he picked this really tough drama, a very unlikable character, very strident, very strong. And I just thought it was a great decision for him because he just had, hey, I'm not going to get pigeonholed. I'm a good actor. I can do a lot of different things. And I think the temptation to be overwhelmed by Indy, by Han Solo was so profound, but he just went in this direction. And again, the fact that he's a bitter person, kind of a genius of sorts, but fighting with his family in this really unique setting where he's out in the wilderness, essentially, and forcing his family to kind of bend to his will. Just a great performance, a great character. And just selfishly, when I worked at a video store in the 1980s, and I was an art major at the time, going to school for art. And so I would draw the movie posters for my store, and they would kind of decorate all around the store, which was kind of fun for me and just a little bit of a quirk for the store owners. But I always remembered certain posters because I drew them. And that was one of I drew Funny Farm, I drew RoboCop, I drew Predator, but I drew Mosquito Coast as well. So even that poster alone is sort of locked in my brain.
I really need to go back and watch this movie again because I remember I reviewed it for my school paper, high school paper at the time, and I was too caught up in the Indiana Jones and the Han Solo. And although coming out of the year before, and I won't get too into the character or the movie in case anyone's going to pick it later, but coming off of Witness, this wasn't a next logical step for him.
Yeah.
I remember at age 16 detesting that movie. I'm like, it didn't work for me. And I distinctly remember writing, it would have been a role better for Jack Nicholson to take, not Harrison Ford. Yeah. But now that, here we are 40 years later, practically, I really need to go back and revisit that, especially remembering that, of course, River Phoenix played one of his children, and Helen Mirren played his wife. So
yeah, it's a great cast.
I need to go back and revisit it.
And, but it's a difficult film to love. And I don't even know if I love it. I just think it's a great performance. It's challenging. And I think I'm sure he wanted to kind of move off that blockbuster. And listen, he's gone back and forth over the years, Air Force One, that may be on someone's list as well. So he's done so much, but he's always been a very good actor. And I think when you're good looking and you're part of these massive franchises, I think that can be forgotten sometimes. And I think some actors just roll with it. And I think he really had the tenacity and the crustiness to say, hey, I can't just be locked in this mode. I need to do other things.
Yeah. I think I've read he said that was his favorite role he ever did. And probably because it's so out of pocket compared to everything else he's done. And I think that's why he wanted to do it so much. But I think that's also why it didn't really connect with a lot of audiences because it was so different from everything else he's done. And it was just hard to see him fit into that mold. Eric, you mentioned Jack Nicholson. I think that's who was actually up for the role before that.
Oh,
And according to IMDb, which is always a dubious source for trivia, but according to IMDb, Nicholson wouldn't do it because he couldn't keep watching basketball in Belize.
oh yes, I do remember that. He couldn't get his Lakers games. That's right. Yes, that does spring to mind. Yes, scrolling through the trivia on IMDb. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And someday I want to be good enough at a job that I can have Lakers games wherever I go on a job. But, not quite there yet. But I think he was really good in that. But I think at that point it was just hard to see him as anything other than the laconic hero. I mean, looking back on it, he really fits into that role well. It's just it was just such a departure for him that I think a lot of people just couldn't make that trip with him. But it is really well done. And his second movie with Peter Weir. Really good stuff and something really unique, especially for that time period. And it's a good pick.
All right, that's it. I'm putting it on the list right now to watch this week. I was probably on. It was a Warner film, if I recall correctly, so it'll be on Max.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, Jim, over to you for your number 3 pick.
Okay, so as you requested, I've not mentioned Han Solo. I'm wearing my Star Wars shirt in silent protest, though. But for my number 3, I'm going to go with a role that I think kind of gets overlooked by a lot of times when people talk about him. But it's a movie called Random Hearts by Sidney. Of course, I'm forgetting his last name, but
Sidney Pollack.
Thank you, Sidney Pollack. Yeah, and this second movie was Sidney Pollack. One of those directors that likes to use him more than once. But I thought it was a really interesting role he did. He kind of played this DC cop. On the surface, is very kind of standard Harrison Ford stuff. He's this DC cop who but he goes through a personal tragedy. He falls in love with someone who's been through a similar tragedy. I'm trying not to spoil anything. But he really does explore a lot of interesting emotional sides of his character that he doesn't usually get to. There's kind of a subplot about police corruption and that really should have just been cut from the movie. But I really feel like the central relationship in that movie between him and Kristen Scott Thomas is really well done. His acting is really good. It's the kind of material that could have been a soap opera, but really isn't. It just feels really powerful stuff, really serious, but just a really engaging role that he does in that. It is very much unlike I think a lot of other stuff he's done, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's a really well made movie, and a little bit different from his usual work. So that's my pick.
And I think Ford's one of those guys who does align with top-notch directors. I mean, he's got the gravitas, but sometimes you don't necessarily do that. I think Schwarzenegger at his peak just basically went, okay, Ivan Reitman comedy, James Cameron action adventure. Like he knew how to pick them out and pick the best of the best. Yeah,
no, definitely. Just getting those right collaborators. And Ford's always been really good at that. He picks the right directors, and whatever he does, they bring him back a lot of times. And so he gets some really good plum roles out of them, and knows exactly what to do for those filmmakers. And I think Sidney Pollack was one of those. They did a remake of Sabrina together, and I think I remember him saying he wasn't a fan of that, how that came out, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun movie. But I think Random Hearts is a really just well done romantic movie, and I think a lot of people didn't know what to make of it because it's not a rom-com. It's more serious. It's a little bit tragic. He has to really explore some things with grief and a lot of personal conflicts, but I really thought he handled that role well. So.
And that's one that I haven't seen. As much as I loved Harrison Ford, I mean, he was one of those guys, he's in it, I'm automatically going to it. But in the 90s, once it got to there, I mean, after The Fugitive and the Jack Ryan movies, I was much more selective with it. And Random Hearts was one that I never went towards. But now I've got to put this on the list along with revisiting Mosquito Coast. So, Random Hearts will be on my list now, too.
I thought he got a little lazy for a while. And I'll kind of delve into it a little more with one of my picks. But I don't know, he felt a little phone it in-ism for a bit, but then I think he came roaring back, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, spoiler alert, it's at least 30 years or about 30 years with Random Hearts. How many times did he do the point in it?
Maybe once.
Okay.
Maybe once, but
that's got to be a contract requirement for him. I'm convinced of it now, if it's a movie like that. I cannot remember if he did it in this one or not. But my number 3 pick, I'm going to go with the picture that you're seeing, folks, the still photo that I'm using this week. It would be Rusty Savage from Presumed Innocent. Mm-hmm. And this, for me, early 90s is when I was finally able to look at Harrison Ford in a different way and not expect him to be hero or iconic anymore. And he took a role where he was kind of not a loser, not to that extent, but someone who was beaten down, someone who was, things weren't going his way, and he was being framed. Much of it actually just hit me coming off of another one, The Fugitive. Those two were very close together coming out. And so here he was, and but the system's working against him, and he's this hotshot guy, and he's getting blindsided. And we got to see a different acting form from him where, again, not a simp to the nth degree, but just someone where things weren't going his way. And he was, the reactions he was getting, just showing his chops as an actor. And I really love that movie. And it's, I mean, talk about a cast around him to work with Raul Julia. Oh gosh. Greta Scacchi. Oh gosh. Bonnie Bedelia. Mm-hmm. And a young Bradley Whitford also in that one. And trying to think who's it. There's Dennehy. Brian Dennehy was phenomenal in that. And how could we forget Judge Motherfucker Paul Winfield? So yeah, that's my number 3, going with Rusty Savage from Presumed Innocent.
And no spoilers, but man, that ending hits like a truck. It's so well, really, really well done.
Is that Alan J. Pakula? Do I have that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, yeah. Solid director too.
Yeah, for sure. Did a lot of good thrillers.
If I'm not mistaken, from a novel by Scott Turow. Who was ubiquitous, much as Jack Ryan was back in the late 80s, early 90s, all the film adaptations. So, and as much as I love this movie, and it's because I love this movie, I haven't seen, is it Jake Gyllenhaal who did was it a TV remake, or was it a miniseries? Or yeah. I just couldn't bring myself to revisit it. That's how much I love it.
Yeah. I'm just so grumpy when, I get a new Batman every few years, but when we do Presumed Innocent, a reboot, it just seems crazy.
We're looking at you, Hollywood. Once again, you're bringing this on yourselves. We won't dive into it if we don't have to, but instead we will go to you, Christian, for your number 2 pick for Harrison Ford, non-Han or Indian.
This is a supporting role, but I thought it was juicy, and to me it came at a time where I thought Harrison Ford, like I said, was just kind of going through the motions. He's making some more forgettable films. And listen, when you get to be a certain age, you don't get the A-list projects. The career rarely fires on all cylinders. But when he played Branch Rickey in 42, I thought that's just a terrific performance. And I think that the subject matter, it's so triumphant and so important and so easy to kind of lean too hard into it and to be preachy, or just the whole thing could have gone off the rails in any which way. But I thought that Harrison Ford's performance was grounded enough where, Branch Rickey did the right thing and made history, helped to make history, obviously. I think Jackie Robinson, a little more first and foremost there, but just the way it was handled. And I also liked the fact that he was taking a smaller role and he wasn't the star. And, I think the best actors should recognize that, a little bit like Tom Cruise in Magnolia, or even just Tropic Thunder, where he's saying, hey, I'm not the star, but I could steal this movie and I could show my chops, and I'm going to do just that. So for all those reasons, I really enjoyed 42. I feel like it's one of those films that just went by and didn't I don't think it was a box office smash. I don't think we talk about it or revisit it enough, but it really is a solid film, and what a consequential figure in the culture.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, he definitely was getting into his grumpy phase when that came out, but it doesn't come through in that performance. It's one of the few performances I've seen, I think, in the last 10, 20 years where it really seems like he's having fun with it.
Yeah, and, exactly.
Like you say, it's a supporting role. He doesn't have the whole movie on his shoulders. He doesn't have to go be the stoic hero. He's playing a character who's kind of a smart ass, and so it's just the kind of thing he could sink his teeth into and have fun with. Yeah. And that does really come through in the performance, even though there's a lot of serious material behind it. It's a kind of script that doesn't take, it's a serious issue, but it doesn't always take itself too seriously. Yep. And you can tell he just was able to kind of open up and have fun and do something different.
By the way, I met is kind of a loose term, but I met Harrison Ford at one of the White House Correspondents' dinners. There's always this pre-party, pretty jam-packed with famous people, and he was there in a crowd. I'm like, dear Lord, I need to meet Harrison Ford. And I would interview the celebrities, and they were pretty gracious. Only one or two would brush me off. One of them was Stephen Colbert. I remember thinking, oh, he's got an earring. That's weird. A little stud earring. So I don't know what I asked him, but I do remember that I asked him 3 questions, and he answered me with 3 one-word answers. And that is so Harrison Ford. Now, I will say in the last maybe 5 or 10 years, he's gotten a little more affable on the talk show circuit, a little more self-deprecating. He's kind of leaning into it. He's not being the curmudgeon, but at the time he was in full-on curmudgeon mode, and he wasn't being a jerk to me, but
good. I'm glad those one-word answers were not kiss my.
No.
Yes.
Not quite Jerry Lewis level of interviewee, but maybe just not too into it. But
yeah, he didn't tell me to get off the plane. I mean, that was nice of him. So.
Yeah. Well, to me, he's always come off as someone who enjoys making movies, but is always a little bit embarrassed by the fame side of it.
Yep.
And so just kind of wants to work through that as quickly as possible, which I understand, but it does make for, some interesting discussions, especially on talk shows.
Yeah. And I think now, I mean, to be a man in his late 70s, early 80s, and to be as busy as he is, he's probably thinking, listen, I'll just do these things. I'll do the Comic-Con once in a blue moon. I'll do the talk shows. It's a small price to pay to keep busy, keep active, and keep getting roles.
Oh, wait, he's doing Comic-Cons? Because I would want him to do what William Shatner did on SNL and go
I think he's appeared at some of the Star Wars stuff.
Get a life, people.
And just real quickly, to put a period on the 42, you'll be pleased to know, although it didn't really do as well at the box office, I'm glad that Chadwick Boseman got recognized. Well, that guy, he just playing real life characters. I loved watching him do that. And this was one that was probably between this and his James Brown and Get On Up, my 2 favorites from him. Another movie that got unceremoniously pushed under. But I asked kids on the baseball field with my umping, just as pitchers are warming up, I'll just keep just talk to the kids. 42 pops up because I'll ask them their favorite baseball movies.
Oh,
it doesn't pop up as much as Sandlot. And so it's gotten to the point where I just say, okay, what's your favorite baseball movie? And if it's Sandlot, what's your second favorite? And 42 pops up quite a bit. So kids are watching it, and they're learning, and they're getting to see Harrison Ford in just one of those nice supporting roles.
Yep.
All right, Jim, over to you for your second pick.
Okay, my number 2, you've actually already mentioned it, but I'm going to go with Richard Kimball in The Fugitive. Fantastic movie, and definitely one of his seminal roles. Looking back on it, he really doesn't have a lot of dialogue in it. I don't think he may not have as much screen time as Tommy Lee Jones does in it. Certainly not as much of dialogue, but maybe not as much screen time. So it kind of is. It almost is a Tommy Lee Jones movie, even though it's about Harrison Ford's character. So he has to do a lot of nonverbal acting in that. He has to, really, his character really goes through a lot, obviously, but he has to signal a lot of that just through nonverbal and expressions and things like that. And man, does he absolutely nail it. I mean, you feel his frustration, you feel his desperation, you feel his fear in some scenes. He just brings it all out without having to say a lot or over emote. And I really think that's a brilliant performance. He doesn't do a lot of, showy acting to call attention to himself, which is probably why the Oscar went to Tommy Lee Jones instead of him, because that was more of a flashier role. But he really is a part of the movie, and he just absolutely nails what his character is going through without having to put a lot of effort into showing it. I thought that was a really brilliant performance he gave in that one.
It's such a well-crafted blockbuster where critics could love it, audiences could love it, based on a popular TV show. It just checked so many boxes. It just did. And it just, great performances. And that was, on paper, they're going to do a movie about a TV show that even back then, I don't know how entrenched it was in pop culture. I don't know. It didn't seem like it was top of mind, like other, like Battlestar Galactica or something, but everything worked in the film. And Tommy Lee Jones was just brilliant. I feel like Tommy Lee Jones has not been busy. I hope he's well. I know he's older now, clearly, but
I believe he's going through some mental issues right now. So
That's
just with age. So I've heard some stories about that. So he's just his age is definitely catching up to him. So that's why we don't see him on screen much anymore.
Because he's good in everything.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And Andrew Davis, man, he's a solid filmmaker, but The Fugitive was by far his best work as a director.
No doubt about it.
Forgive me, I've lost track. Is he still busy? Is he still working? I don't feel like I've seen his name recently.
It's been a while. The last thing I saw him in was that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Collateral, and that was a long time ago. So,
okay.
I think he's either retired or just not doing a lot right now. But
maybe director's jail.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but he's a solid filmmaker. But that's definitely his best work. And Ford's performance I think is really good. So,
are we forgetting Glimmer Man featuring yours truly as a limo driver? Come on, man, step up. No, it's The Fugitive. Don't get me wrong, folks. You can't even see me in Glimmer Man. It's okay. Andrew Davis.
You made your impact all the same.
Yeah, something like that. But no, Jim, to what you said, just for me, my favorite part of the whole movie, and there are so many great ones, but when he escaped, part of the early part of the escape, and he goes in, and he's in the bathroom, and we're in the hospital, and just everything that went on there, and he's died, the quick diagnosis, and the part of the escape, and just the frenetic nature of it right there, just kicks the movie through.
Harrison Ford does do that kind of handshaky thing sometimes, like he's so nervous, he's so wired. A little bit of a tell for him, or a tick.
And to put a cap on The Fugitive, also featuring our good friend of the show, Mr. Nick Searcy.
Oh, I forgot that, man.
And he's ironically enough, he's the one mouthing off to Tommy Lee Jones, the marshal, who then winds up being the chief marshal or chief deputy marshal in Justified. So good full around there for Mr. Nick.
6 degrees of Nick Searcy.
Oh, that's a game I will play. We'll bring Nick back on for that one. But in the meantime, I'm going to go to my number 2. And even though they were books that I never read, my dad's a big fan of the Jack Ryan books. But I love Harrison Ford in Patriot Games, and just the caring father, the statesman, just the action star. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned it earlier, a little flippantly, but it's my favorite point when he goes back at Richard Harris just to shut him up. That's better than when he shuts up Princess Leia. When Richard Harris, no. And I love him as Jack Ryan in that, and it's Patriot Games, not number 2 for Mr. Harrison Ford.
It's amazing just going through this. There are many movies we're skipping just for time, and you have to top 3. But what a legacy! I mean, we're doing all this without the Indiana and without the Star Wars.
Yeah,
my gosh, what a career!
He's Harrison Ford. He's top 5 movie stars of our lifetime. Yeah. I'd be hard pressed to find anyone who would argue that. Yeah, and if maybe even top 3.
Yeah,
Screw it. He's number 1. We are going so far on this one. We took 2 roles off the table, and as Chris said, he's still kicking ass. Harrison Ford, much love as he celebrates his 83rd birthday, 80s, however old he is this month. But so right now, Christian, over to you for any honorable mentions you've gotten in this illustrious career, and then your number 1 pick.
Oh gosh, honorable mentions. All right, it's not a leading role, and it was pretty recent. And the movie itself was, I would say, as my dad might say, menza. Captain America: Brave New World. Again, I love the vitality that this 80-something actor brings to his performance. He was quite good in it. And even the Hulk transition, I mean, made sense because of what he brought to the character. Listen, it's not a great movie. It's not a great screenplay. Probably not a great character on paper. But there's something that Harrison Ford brings when he's on his game. And I really think, like I said, he's just very dialed in and invested at this point in his career. And I think he's just genuinely grateful to be still doing what he loves. And I think it really showed in the film. It's a complicated character. He gets more to do, maybe even than Anthony Mackie as the hero. But I really thought he carried that film. And the MCU is certainly struggling. It ain't what it used to be. But the last battle sequence I thought was solid. And just the whole lead up, and there's a sweet kind of subplot involving his daughter, Liv Tyler, So I think a lot works for the role. And again, in a career that's just so full of hits, that one took me by surprise. And for that reason, I'll make it my honorable mention.
Okay, nice. Oh, wait, did you say Liv Tyler plays his daughter?
Yeah, that's
Wait, why haven't I seen this movie?
General Thunderbolt Ross, because he's taken over for the late.
Actually, it makes sense because from earlier in the MCU. Yeah, okay, she was there. All right, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, and then my number one pick. I mean, again, so many films, but Blade Runner. Blade Runner is complicated. I don't think I loved it when I first saw it. I still don't throw my arms around it like maybe I'd like to, but it gets so much right. It's so, I mean, the whole noir element mixed with science fiction, mixed with a dystopian look at the future. It's bleak, it's dark, and I just thought he really, to get the tone so right throughout the movie, bitter, hard scrabble with a little bit of humanity lurking within. I mean, he wasn't young at the time. He was probably late 30s, I'm going to guess, but hit so many notes and just was able to kind of anchor that movie. I thought the sequel, the belated sequel, was solid, interesting, engaging. Good to see him in the role again. But that first film, and I think it's 1982. The special effects are just stunning. I mean, what they were able to evoke and create was magical. Rutger Hauer, what a spectacular villain, but Ford's the anchor. He makes it all work. He makes it all hold together. And again, to have such a bitter, broken hero who still has a flicker of hope within him, amazing.
It's a shame he didn't work with Ridley Scott more. They interesting together.
Great point.
Yeah, well, like you mentioned earlier, someone who picks his directors quite well, never again.
Yeah. It's not like Ridley wasn't busy. He's been that dude's in his 80s too. He doesn't stop.
Yeah, Ridley doesn't stop either. All right, Jim, over to you with any honorable mentions and your number one pick.
All right, so a few honorable mentions. John Book from Witness. It starts out as kind of his standard tough guy hero, but Peter Weir takes it into some really interesting places, having him do this culture clash with the Amish. So really interesting movie and a really good and I think rich performance in that one.
And got to put his carpentry skills to work there.
Indeed, he did. Yeah, in fact, I'm gonna go back into that later. But okay. Also going to mention From What Lies Beneath, Norman Spencer. I think the only horror movie he ever did, but really interesting movie. He carries it really well. For the first half or so, he has to basically play mysterious and play a lot of things kind of vague, so we can't guess what's happening. And then really takes his characters into some interesting directions in the second half. But I thought he handled that it was something really different for him, and I thought he handled it really well. In The Conversation, it's his only supporting role on this list, but in The Conversation, he plays Martin Stett, who's a Fed. One of his few bad guy roles. He doesn't do menacing very often, but he was pretty menacing in that role without having to say or do a whole lot. And just a really good movie overall. But going back to your carpentry point, so this isn't a movie on my list, but he made a movie called Firewall about 20 years ago-ish. It's a pretty good thriller. I enjoy it. It's set up here in Seattle, which is a nice thing. But there's a behind-the-scenes story in that where Paul Bettany is the villain, and near the end of the movie, there's a scene where he has to throw Harrison Ford's character through a window. He grabs him, tosses him through this window. No stuntman on that. Harrison Ford did it. Paul Bettany was terrified he was going to hurt this guy because he was in his mid-60s, and he's like, this frail old man, I'm going to throw him through this window and just he's going to break into a million pieces. And he said he had to do the stunt 6 or 7 times. And Harrison Ford not only did the stunt and got up every time, but he fixed the window every time. because carpentry, like, why not?
That's right. There's probably a union guy in the
do
set.
it your worst.
Come on.
So, I think that illustrates something about him, that he brings something really real to his roles. He isn't he doesn't have a ton of range, but what he brings something that I think is really real and really a part of him, and you can really sense it. You know, he can do these things for real. He works with his hands. He flies planes. He rescued someone in a rescue helicopter once. He's not just somebody who spends all his time on LA beaches and then puts on a wig and pretends to be something. You know, he really is doing something real that comes from a part of who he is, and that's very old school these days. But I think it really comes through in his roles, and I think it's a big part of his popularity. So, okay. So anyway, all that said, on to my number one. You mentioned Jack Ryan. I'm going to also bring up Jack Ryan, but my pick is Clear and Present Danger. It's a fantastic movie. I love it. And I think it's one of his best roles. I think his performance is better than in Patriot Games because he has a real character arc he has to go through in that. His character starts out, going through kind of a honeymoon period, working with the president, and loving that, and eventually gets movies about the president being kind of corrupt and starting his own war in South America. And as this slowly becomes apparent to Jack Ryan, he really goes through an arc as he becomes disillusioned with the president, with DC politics in general, and tries to find a way to pull something honorable out of this. And it goes into full on thriller territory about that, but really well done by Philip Noyce. But I think he really handles that character arc well. I think he handles all the complexities that his character goes through well. And I think when it's time for him to step up and be the action hero we want him to be, he does it really well without overselling, without feeling like he's a superhuman. He's just he's an ex-Marine, but he's still a regular guy who's doing the best he can. I think he just sells that role really well. And of course, there's some really powerful exchanges where he's getting in some of the other politicians' faces, and I think he does the point at least once with some of those great character actors that he works with in that. That final scene with him and Donald Moffat as the president, where they just face off, is really, really well done. I just think that's a fantastic movie. So,
no argument here. A good extension off of my Patriot Games, no doubt.
We may get it now, but by the way, very little overlap on our list. That's just another example of the breadth of his career.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, Christian.
Uh-oh. Thanks a lot.
Because this is a no-brainer of no-brainers for someone who saw this movie at the drive-in, 1982, have been in love with this movie ever since then. Future Noir, The Making of Blade Runner, phenomenal book. Can't recommend it enough. And yes, that's right. I still have my comic book adaptation of Blade Runner. Love it. And I found 1982, I was 12 years old, seeing this at the drive-in, the Howland Drive-In Theater, and seeing this on the big screen and this is 82, so it just had a little tin box in the window, prop next to Dad. And I was blown away from the start. And there's my Indiana Jones, my Han Solo, playing this beleaguered guy. But having seen the pulp movies, the noir movies, the black and whites on Channel 33, those rainy afternoon movies in the 70s growing up, and then early 80s, just fell in love with this character. And of course, we later get to the director's cut, which doesn't have the narration in it. I love the narration. To me, that's what makes it a film noir, a future noir. And I know, and you read later that Harrison Ford didn't want to record those voiceovers, and he went in and he half-assed it in the VO sessions. That to me made it better, because this was a guy who was run down. He was past his expiration date. Not literally. I do not think that Rick Deckard is he is not more human than human. He is human. And I love the movie, and it's to me the definitive version. I love the ultimate director's cut, which is with minus the narration, but to me it's not the future noir without that narration. It just makes it such a good cop story.
I agree. I normally think narration's a cheat, after the fact way to kind of stitch story elements together, or just a cheap way to kind of go about it. But with that movie, yes, the narration absolutely kills it.
And it plays perfectly as a narration, literally in the comic book part.
Mhm.
And the book "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep," great Philip K. Dick book. But yeah, but here, I didn't really care for it. I didn't dislike it, but the 2049 did not grab me to say I need to see this again.
No, I agree. I agree.
Good to see it once. There he is again. But yeah, I'm more than content to live with Rick Deckard, 1982 or 2019 Rick Deckard. I'm good with that.
I don't think there's been any talk of a Blade Runner remake. I think there may be an Amazon Prime series coming at some point.
Really?
But maybe an extension, but I don't think there's been a flat out remake discussed to my knowledge, which I'm surprised. I'm happy, but surprised as well.
Well, and
They did a great job with Lord of the Rings. I can't wait for that.
Right.
Down boy. Well, I forgot to mention a couple of honorable mentions. One in particular, it was the second movie that he did with Mike Nichols. The first, of course, being I loved him as Jack Traynor in Working Girl, where he first, to me, showed some good comic chops. But regarding Henry, which is not a good movie, or a barely good movie. But as someone who has been in a coma, Harrison Ford nailed that. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little choked up thinking about it, because I remember leaving that. I had to actually leave the theater for a little bit. I was that overcome with emotions on how he was playing it, and just the forgetfulness, that having to stumble through certain things. And there's that my hero, my Han Solo, my Indiana Jones, playing vulnerable and doing it well. And so, again, not a great movie by any stretch of the means, a movie worth seeing, but for Harrison Ford's performance, I thought he was great in that. And also, I got to give finally some love to Bob Falfa in American Graffiti.
That's right.
Driving around with good old Suzanne Summers, and just being the coolest guy in the car.
Talk about a movie that just captures a moment in our culture. Yeah, that's perfection.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that director?
No comment necessary.
George Lucas saw how good Harrison Ford was at driving stuff and said, I think I have another idea.
That one-hit wonder, man.
Wow, sorry, this didn't hit me. I mean, okay, well, Bob, you mentioned What Lies Beneath. Bob Zemeckis would have been another good one for him to team up with again. So a one and done was not enough for me.
Yeah.
But now for our +1, folks, we had originally talked about our supporting roles, but we got these three cinematic thinking brains together. So let's flip on over here to our triple shot, and Jim, you can have fun like you always do, and look into this. I love it. But we omitted Han Solo and Indiana Jones. But what we're going to get into now is talking about the reboots, the sequels, everything where Harrison Ford has just kept going with these characters, and how much does it tarnish these two of the most iconic characters in the history of film? So, Christian, I go to you with that first.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it absolutely does. We had three beloved Indiana Jones films. It could have wrapped up there. They literally rode off into the sunset. That was the way this should have ended. But of course, we can't end things. Listen, if you're going to bring back a saga and you've got Steven Spielberg behind the camera, where could you go wrong? At the end of the day, I think Crystal Skull is not a horrible movie, but I think they just set the bar so darn high that we look back on it with a grimace, not a grin. And of course, that left a bad taste in a lot of our mouths. And then even the Mutt character of Shia LaBeouf was just didn't connect with the franchise, didn't work with the whole ensemble. And then they went ahead and did Dial of Destiny, which was a legitimately mediocre film. Yeah, I think when I think Indy now, it's part of that collective. And conversely, while we've got a lot of problems with Star Wars, and we could go on for days about what's gone wrong, the fact that he came back late 60s, I forget how exactly old he was, and brought Han Solo back, and was able to have that spark and that fire in his belly, and he didn't miss a beat, and he connected with the new characters. I thought that was amazing. And I know he checks out, a big spoiler surprise, from that film. Where would he have gone in the next two films, which got progressively worse? I don't know. But I think in that case, I think he didn't harm his legacy of the character at all. So I think you can hurt yourself. I really do. I think legacy matters. I think about like Howard Stern. I think about Neil Young, Bruce Springsteen. I think these people are hurting their legacy. I really think so. And sometimes it's best to kind of bow out like a John Hughes did. Obviously, he died, but he had kind of retired before then.
Yeah, I like the fact that, like I said, there was a spark there. There were the swagger was back.
Yes.
Yep.
He was a scoundrel again, and loving it, and he wasn't like checked out there with the Ewoks and just yucking it up. So yeah, but yeah, when the death was inevitable. But and with Dial of Destiny, I mean, I love the final shot. I'm not as good as the final shot of Salah and Marcus and all them riding off into the sunset, the two Doctors Jones, but that with the hat, I like that. But I remember walking out of there thinking I've never felt meh about an Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, that does not do a service at all to I don't even want to say fans, but people who, if you like Dial of Destiny, why? That's not the Indiana Jones that you should be loving and caring about.
Yeah. I think it can hurt your legacy, but I think it really depends on the project. It depends on who's making it and how passionate they are. Blade Runner 2049, I'm the opposite of you. I thought I liked his performance better in Blade Runner 2049 because there was the world weariness, but there was also a passion. There was a longing for his relationship with Rachel. I think that there were a lot of interesting character beats that got brought out of him in that weren't in the first movie. So I think that was a really good example of how you can bring that character back, and it just deepens the universe. And it was really made. Denis Villeneuve made that with a lot of passion for the original, and he wanted to get it right, and that was important for him to get it right. Han Solo.
The movies that intersected beautifully with the first film. They just like two puzzle pieces coming together, and they're snapping together.
Exactly. Yeah, it fit into the story. It didn't feel like they were just bringing it back for fan service. It fit into the story perfectly. So I thought that was a really well done example. If he kept it that way, I think that it wouldn't have hurt his legacy at all. I think he brought back some of those other characters because he wanted the artistic challenge of it. But Han Solo, I mean, he checked out, but it was. I liked Han Solo in Force Awakens. It helped that his character exited the franchise before Ruin. I mean, Rian Johnson got a hold of it. Indiana Jones should have stopped at 3. They really should have. That should have been it. We don't need a 70-year-old version of the character. This is just my opinion as a fan. They should have rebooted it with Chris Pratt or Nathan Fillion 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And just gone forward with that, but obviously that ship has sailed. I think that one has really hurt his legacy, which is unfortunate because he said that's one of his favorite roles, it's all about who you put the franchise in the hands of. Do they have a passion for it? Do they care about what they're doing, or are they just cashing in? And if they're just cashing in, or trying to push an agenda, or just trying to give everybody another go around, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
Put a chick in it and make it gay. That is the Kathleen Kennedy way.
What could go wrong?
And any chance we get to quote Eric Cartman on this show that doesn't involve Nazis and or Hitler, I'm going to do it. Those two things I won't. That's bad, Eric Cartman. Eric Cartman does have a lot of good points, and going after Kathleen Kennedy is one of them.
That episode is aging like fine wine, and the fact that the stuff Disney's putting out this year alone proves it. It's continuing to age well.
Well, folks, I cannot thank Christian Toto enough for being with us today. Be sure you check him out we've got the scroll going down there on Facebook, X, Instagram. Check out the Hollywood and Toto podcast on all the major streaming platforms, at Hollywood and Toto everywhere else. Christian, welcome back here all the time, and thanks for joining us here for the Han Solo Rama. I'm sorry, the non-Han Solo-rama, the Harrison Ford-orama. And yeah, season 4, we have kicked off, and folks be looking for more great guests. We've got so many on tap for this coming season, and more Threefers. Marty will be back, and we're having so much fun. It's because of you. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and to the all over the place audience, we thank you. And we'll be back real soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All over the place, where the fun sanity never ends.